Your belief is the foundation of your future. Life is going to test you, challenge you, and sometimes break you down to your knees. But the one thing that will determine whether you rise again is the way you see yourself. The world is filled with opinions, filled with people who will tell you what you cannot do, who will measure your worth by their limited vision. But your destiny is not determined by their eyes. It is determined by your own heart, your own courage, your own conviction that you were born for something greater. Belief is not just a word. It is not just a thought. It is the very soil in which your dreams must be planted, and without it, nothing can grow. There will be days when no one shows up to clap for you, when your family doubts your ability, when your friends mock your ambition, when the people closest to you cannot see the fire burning within. In those moments, belief becomes the oxygen that keeps your dream alive. If you don't feed it, if you don't nurture it, it will suffocate and die long before it has a chance to breathe life into the world. Self-belief is not about arrogance. It is about awareness. It is about knowing deep in your spirit that you were created with purpose, that your existence is not an accident, and that inside you lies the potential to create a future beyond imagination. Think about the tallest buildings you've ever seen. They don't start with glass windows and shining lights. They start with a foundation dug deep into the ground, sometimes deeper than anyone can see. Before they rise, they must go down. Before they shine, they must be hidden. And in the same way, before your dreams become visible, your belief must be rooted so deep that no storm can shake it, no criticism can crack it, no doubt can destroy it. That is the work you must do within yourself to build a foundation so strong that it carries the weight of your vision. People will laugh at you. They will say, "Who are you to think you can achieve that?" They will remind you of your failures, your flaws, your shortcomings. They will try to measure your future with the yardstick of your past. But belief is not about where you've been. It's about where you're going. Self-belief transforms failure into feedback, mistakes into lessons, and obstacles into stepping stones. It whispers, "You are not finished yet." It tells you there is more inside you than you have yet to reveal. Without it, every setback becomes an end. With it, every setback becomes a beginning. The truth is, you don't need the approval of the crowd to walk into your destiny. You don't need everyone to believe in you. You just need one person, and that person is you. When you believe in yourself, you create a force so powerful that it draws resources, opportunities, and people into your path. Belief attracts what you need. Belief activates doors that others cannot see. Belief becomes the magnet for miracles. Every great achiever was once a dreamer who had nothing but belief. They were told they couldn't. They were told they shouldn't. They were told they wouldn't, but they chose to believe anyway. That is the foundation. You may not have money. You may not have support. You may not even have clarity, but if you have belief, you have a beginning. And every beginning carries within it the seed of a future that can transform your life and inspire countless others. So when you feel alone, when you feel forgotten, when the weight of doubt tries to bury you, remember that your belief is the foundation of your future. It doesn't matter how small the seed is as long as you plant it. It doesn't matter how dark the soil as long as you nurture it. It doesn't matter who doubts you as long as you never stop believing in the greatness that lives within you. Every no you hear in life has the power to break you or build you, depending on how you choose to interpret it. Most people see rejection as the end of the road, a closed door that signals failure. But the truth is, rejection is not the end, it is a redirection. It is life's way of pointing you toward a path that is better suited for the greatness inside you. The people who succeed are not the ones who never hear no. They are the ones who learn how to use those moments as stepping stones instead of stumbling blocks. When someone rejects you, they are not defining your worth or your potential. They are simply expressing their limitations, their perspective, their inability to see what you carry inside. Too often, people allow the opinions of others to become the ceiling of their own lives. They internalize rejection as proof that they are not good enough, smart enough, talented enough, worthy enough. But the power of self-belief transforms every rejection into fuel. It whispers, this is not the end. This is simply a turn in the road, and something greater is waiting for you around the corner. History is filled with people who were rejected countless times before they broke through. Think of the writers whose manuscripts were turned down again, only for their books to one day inspire millions. Think of the entrepreneurs who were laughed out of offices, only to build businesses that changed industries. Think of the athletes who were told they were too small, too slow, too weak, and later stood on podiums with medals around their necks. What set them apart was not luck or talent alone. It was their ability to turn rejection into redirection. They saw every closed door as a sign that another door was meant for them. When life says no, you have two choices. You can shrink back into fear and doubt, or you can lean into faith and belief. Rejection is often protection. It is the universe keeping you from paths that do not serve your higher calling. Sometimes the job you lost was not the one that would have unlocked your true potential. Sometimes the relationship that ended was not the one that would allow you to grow into your best self. Sometimes the opportunity that slipped through your fingers was not designed to carry the weight of your destiny. It takes belief to trust that when one door closes, another is waiting to be opened. Self-belief does not erase the sting of rejection, but it changes the meaning of it. Instead of saying, I failed, you begin to say, I learned. Instead of saying, I lost, you begin to say, I was redirected. This shift is what allows you to keep moving forward when others stop. It is what allows you to rise again when life knocks you down. Without self-belief, rejection becomes an anchor that holds you in place. With self-belief, rejection becomes a compass that points you towards something greater. Think about it like this: a no is not a wall, it is a signpost. It tells you, not here, not now, not this way. But it does not mean never. The key is to keep moving, to keep believing, to keep trusting that your path is still unfolding. Many times, the rejection you face is simply preparation for the acceptance you are destined for. It builds resilience, it strengthens your character, it teaches you to adapt, to adjust, to grow. Without rejection, you would never develop the depth of belief needed to sustain your success when it finally comes. Rejection has a way of testing how badly you want something. Anybody can stay excited when things go smoothly, but it takes real belief to keep showing up after hearing no, over and over again. That belief becomes your anchor in the storm. It becomes the voice that says, I will not quit. I will not give up. I will not let someone else's lack of belief determine the outcome of my life. So the next time life says, no, don't stop walking. Don't let it convince you that the dream is dead. Ask yourself what the rejection is redirecting you toward. Trust that something better is aligning. Believe that the path is not over, it is just shifting. When you do, you will discover that every no carries within it a hidden yes. A new beginning, a new direction that leads you closer to the future you are meant to create. The loudest voice you will ever hear in your life is not the voice of your critics, not the voice of your family, not even the voice of the crowd. It is your own voice. What you say to yourself when nobody else is around has the power to lift you or destroy you. Inside every person lives both an inner critic and an inner champion. The critic whispers doubt, fear, and limitation. It tells you that you are not enough, that you cannot make it, that you should quit before you embarrass yourself. The champion, however, speaks courage, hope, and strength. It reminds you of your worth, your potential, and your power to rise above any obstacle. The battle of your life will not be fought outside in the opinions of others. It will be fought inside between these two voices. Silencing the inner critic does not mean it will never speak again. Doubt will always try to creep in. Fear will always try to grab your attention. The difference is whether you choose to listen. The inner critic grows louder the more you give it power. But the inner champion grows stronger the more you feed it. Every time you speak life into yourself, every time you affirm your ability, every time you remind yourself of your vision, you are turning up the volume of your champion. The question is not whether both voices exist. The question is which one you will allow to guide your life. There will always be moments when you feel inadequate. That is human. But inadequacy becomes dangerous when it becomes permanent. If you keep telling yourself you are not capable, eventually your actions will follow that belief. People fail not because they lack potential, but because they allowed the critic inside to silence the champion within. If you want to create a future beyond your present circumstances, you must master the art of speaking life into yourself, even when everything around you is screaming the opposite. Think about how athletes prepare for competition. They don't just train their bodies, they train their minds. They use affirmations, visualization, and powerful self-talk because they understand that the body cannot go where the mind has not already gone. If an athlete steps onto the field with a mind full of doubt, their performance will mirror it. But if they step on with a mind filled with belief, their body rises to match that expectation. The same principle applies to your life. Your words shape your reality. Your inner dialogue creates the world you experience. If you keep repeating the language of fear, you will live a life of hesitation. If you keep repeating the language of power, you will live a life of courage. Sometimes you will not have cheerleaders. Sometimes no one will clap when you succeed, and no one will encourage you when you stumble. In those moments, you must become your own source of motivation. You must learn to celebrate your small victories, to remind yourself of how far you have come, to fuel your own fire when no one else adds wood to it. The critic will say, "You're not moving fast enough. You're not doing enough. You're not good enough." The champion will say, "Keep going. You're growing. You're closer than you think." Which voice you choose to echo in your mind will determine how far you go. Silencing the critic also means being mindful of what you allow into your environment. Negative voices around you feed the negative voice within you. If you surround yourself with people who constantly doubt, complain, and criticize, it becomes easier for your own critic to gain ground. But when you choose to surround yourself with people who uplift, inspire, and believe, your inner champion gains strength. What you feed your mind becomes the soil in which your belief grows. You cannot expect to produce confidence if you constantly plant seeds of doubt. Your inner champion is waiting to be activated. It doesn't need perfection. It doesn't need applause. It doesn't even need certainty. It only needs your permission to speak louder than your critic. Every time you rise after failure, every time you refuse to quit, every time you remind yourself of your worth, you are proving that your champion is stronger than your critic. The voice you amplify today will create the life you live tomorrow. If you choose to silence the critic and amplify the champion, you will step into possibilities that once felt impossible. The disbelief of others will often come when you least expect it. Sometimes it comes from strangers who don't even know you, but other times it comes from the people closest to you. Friends, family, colleagues, people you thought would support your journey. They may not mean to harm you, but their inability to see your potential can create shadows of doubt in your own mind. This is where belief in yourself becomes more than a choice, it becomes a necessity. You cannot allow the doubts of others to determine the size of your dream. Instead, you must turn their disbelief into energy, into fire that fuels your determination to move forward. When someone tells you that you cannot achieve something, what they are really revealing is the limitation of their own vision, not yours. They are projecting their fears, their failures, their insecurities onto you. If they cannot see it for themselves, they assume you cannot either. But greatness has never been about what others see. It has always been about what you are willing to believe in spite of what others cannot. Every inventor, every leader, every dreamer who ever changed the world faced disbelief. People said the airplane would never leave the ground. The light bulb was a foolish idea, and personal computers were unnecessary. Yet, in every case, someone used that doubt as motivation to prove them wrong. There is something powerful about taking someone's "you can't" and transforming it into "watch me." The disbelief of others can be a gift if you know how to use it. It sharpens your focus, it strengthens your resolve, and it pushes you to dig deeper than you ever thought possible. Without resistance, there is no growth. Without pressure, there are no diamonds. The doubt of others becomes the pressure that shapes your resilience, the force that molds your courage. Every time someone says you are not capable, you are given a choice to shrink or to rise. Those who choose to rise discover a strength within themselves they never knew they had. Turning doubt into fuel is not about seeking revenge or proving people wrong just for the sake of it. It is about proving yourself right. It is about showing up for the version of you that dared to dream in the first place. Yes, people will mock you, dismiss you, and question why you are chasing something that looks impossible. But impossibility is only a label until someone refuses to accept it. The disbelief of others becomes meaningless the moment you decide to move anyway. Your steps, your actions, your persistence. That is what turns disbelief into belief, both for yourself and eventually for those who doubted you. Sometimes the disbelief of others is exactly what you need to push harder. If everyone believed in you, if everyone expected you to succeed, you might become complacent. But when no one believes, you are forced to dig into the deepest parts of yourself, to build a foundation so strong that it cannot be shaken. You stop looking for validation outside and instead begin creating validation within. That is the power of self-belief. It does not rely on applause. It does not wait for permission. It does not need recognition. It becomes its own fire, and the doubt of others is simply more wood to keep it burning. There will come a day when those same people who doubted you will look at your success with amazement. They will ask how you did it. They will tell stories about how they always knew you would make it. And they will celebrate the very dream they once rejected. But your journey is not about proving anything to them. It is about honoring the belief you carried when no one else could see it. It is about realizing that their disbelief was never a barrier, it was a catalyst. Without their doubt, you might not have found the drive to push harder, climb higher, or endure longer. So, the next time someone tells you that your vision is too big, that your dream is unrealistic, or that your path is impossible, smile and thank them silently. They have just handed you more fuel for your fire. They have given you another reason to rise, another reason to persist, another reason to prove, not to them, but to yourself, that you are capable of far more than anyone imagined. The disbelief of others is not your enemy. It is your motivation, your battery, your reminder that belief in yourself will always be the difference between giving up and breaking through. Believing in yourself is not a one-time decision. It is a daily practice. And like any practice, it grows stronger through repetition. Confidence is not built overnight, and greatness does not emerge in one giant leap. It is the accumulation of small wins, the consistent victories that stack one upon another, that build an unshakable foundation of belief. Too often people wait for the big breakthrough, the life-changing moment, the extraordinary event to validate their worth. But the truth is that real confidence is forged in the little moments most people overlook. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, when you strengthen your self-belief, when you say you will wake up early and you do, that is a win. When you say you will finish that project and you complete it, that is a win. When you push yourself to exercise, to study, to practice discipline, even when you don't feel like it, that is a win. These small victories may not seem like much on their own, but together they create momentum. Momentum creates confidence, and confidence builds belief. It is a cycle that grows stronger the more you commit to it. Think about a child learning to walk. The first steps are shaky, unsteady, uncertain. They fall more times than they stand, but every little step forward is a victory. The child doesn't stop because of the falls, nor do they expect to sprint on the first try. They celebrate the progress, however small, and that celebration becomes fuel for the next step. Eventually, those little wins accumulate into the strength and confidence to walk, run, and climb. The same principle applies to every dream, every goal, every pursuit in life. When you recognize and honor the small wins, you create a mindset that refuses to quit. The danger comes when people dismiss their small achievements, when they overlook their progress because it doesn't seem significant. They say, it's not enough. And in doing so, they weaken their belief. Self-belief is not about perfection. It is about progress. It is about recognizing that each step forward, no matter how small, is evidence that you are moving closer to the life you envision. Confidence is like a muscle. If you never exercise it, it will remain weak. But if you practice consistently, even with small efforts, it will grow stronger until it becomes unshakable. Self-belief is tested most in the quiet moments when no one else is watching. It is easy to believe when the crowd is cheering, But the real growth happens in the silence of your own discipline. When you study late into the night, when you choose to practice instead of procrastinate, when you rise after failure instead of giving in to defeat, these are the wins that matter. They may not bring applause, but they build integrity. Integrity with yourself creates trust, and trust builds confidence. You cannot believe in yourself fully if you do not trust yourself to follow through on your commitments. That trust is built one small win at a time. Great achievements are simply the visible tip of an iceberg made up of countless small victories hidden beneath the surface. A best-selling author's book begins with the small win of writing a single page. A world-class athlete's success begins with a small win of showing up to train every day. A successful business empire begins with the small win of making one sale, one connection, one step forward. When you honor the small, you prepare for the great. When you neglect the small, you rob yourself of the confidence needed to handle the great when it arrives. You must learn to celebrate progress as much as you celebrate results. Each small win is proof that you are capable. Each small win is evidence that you are growing. Each small win tells your inner critic, you were wrong about me. Over time, these wins create a deep reservoir of belief that cannot be shaken by temporary setbacks or external doubts. You begin to carry yourself differently, speak differently, and approach challenges with a quiet confidence that says, I have overcome before, and I will overcome again. So never underestimate the power of a small victory. They are the building blocks of greatness. They are the training ground of resilience. They are the foundation of self-belief. The mountain is climbed not in one giant leap, but in steady steps, one after another, each step a win that brings you closer to the top. If you keep stacking these wins, no matter how small, eventually you will look back and realize you have built a life of unshakable confidence, a life where belief is no longer a question, but a certainty. Your destiny is not something that requires permission from the world. Too many people spend their lives waiting for others to validate their dreams, waiting for approval, waiting for someone to give them the green light before they move forward. But destiny does not work that way. The life you are meant to live is not dependent on whether people agree with you, support you, or even understand you. Self-belief is the only permission slip you need to step into your greatness. From the moment you were born, there was something placed inside of you that only you could bring into this world. No one else can see it as clearly as you can. Others may doubt it, others may dismiss it, but that does not mean it isn't real. The danger comes when you begin to internalize their disbelief and allow it to dictate your choices. When you do that, you are essentially handing over the steering wheel of your life to someone else. You cannot live the life you were created for if you keep waiting for others to sign off on it. Think about all the people who changed history. They did not wait for permission. They moved in the face of doubt. They acted when others hesitated. They pursued visions that looked impossible and sometimes even foolish to the world around them. At first, they were criticized, rejected, and laughed at, but over time their persistence proved them right. What separated them from the rest was not privilege or approval. It was their unshakable belief that their destiny belonged to them alone. When you rely on the permission of others, you give them power over your future. If they say no, you stop. If they do not support you, you give up. But when you stand firm in your belief, you reclaim that power. You begin to move regardless of applause or recognition. You learn to walk by faith, not by sight, because belief allows you to see beyond your present circumstances. It shows you possibilities that are invisible to the eyes of those who doubt. It whispers that the dream in your heart is not an accident, it is a calling. Many people delay their greatness because they are waiting for everything to be perfect, waiting for the right moment, waiting for someone to tell them they are ready. But you will never feel fully ready, and the world may never tell you to begin. That is why self-belief is so critical. It pushes you to act even in uncertainty. It reminds you that you do not need all the answers before you start. You do not need everyone on your side before you step forward. The path will reveal itself as you move, but only if you begin. Your destiny does not require the majority to agree with you. Some of the greatest breakthroughs happen when one person dares to defy the opinions of many. The Wright brothers did not need the world's permission to fly. Thomas Edison did not need permission to keep experimenting after 1,000 failures. Nelson Mandela did not need permission to believe in freedom even while imprisoned. Their lives prove that destiny bows only to belief, not to consensus. It is important to understand that waiting for permission often masks itself as fear. Fear of failure, fear of rejection, fear of judgment. But the truth is, people will judge you whether you succeed or fail. They will talk whether you move or stay still. So if their opinions are guaranteed, why should they control your life? You might as well move forward and live fully, because at the end of your days, it will not be their voices you regret listening to. It will be your own. The one that knew you could have been more, but chose to stay silent. Belief in yourself is not arrogance. It is ownership. It is the recognition that your life is yours to live, and no one else can walk it for you. Your destiny does not need signatures, stamps, or approvals. It only needs your commitment. The moment you decide that you are enough, that you are ready, that you are capable, is the moment your life begins to align with the greatness you were created for. You do not need permission to dream. You do not need permission to start. You do not need permission to succeed. You only need the courage to believe and the willingness to act. So never forget that the world's disbelief is irrelevant when your belief is unshakable. The gates of your destiny will not open because others allow it. They will open because you decide to walk through them. Your self-belief is the key, and once you choose to use it, no force in the world can keep you from the life you were born to live.